Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Hero World Challenge Tigers Tournament for 2023. This is again going to be my preview, picks and bets, all in one encompassing show. For this, I was really not planning on doing a show, but I did see they had a bunch of different DFS contests that you can get involved in. Of course, there is betting, which we'll talk briefly about. But with that said, I want to get you guys a quick show. It'll be my last show of the year. I will talk to you guys again at the Tournament of Champions, kicking off in early January. And with that said, let's go talk a little golf. Thanks for stopping by. Give me literally about 15, 20 minutes and we'll get through all this information. If you are going to be playing some DFS or betting on it, hopefully this gives you a little more insight and an edge on who you want to play. All right. So real quickly, it feels like forever ago, there was the RSM Classic, which was, only, a couple weekends ago, but with the holiday and all the football and all, focus on that if you do. Kind of almost forgot what was going on, but I tweeted out, of course, my buddy and the guy that I've been talking about since he got his tour card back, Adam Svensson, wins the RSM Classic, which I did not predict. I did not see coming. I did not have him in my player pool, and I didn't play a ton for this. I mean, funny enough, I guess from a DFS perspective, I did a little more because I knew it was kind of the last tournament that I'd probably be putting any money into. The hero for what we're talking about, you got a field of less than 20 now. Hideki Matsuyama has pulled out, so you got 19 guys teeing it up. So I don't know how much, maybe a little showdown I'll do. I'm actually making one bet. We'll talk about that guy. But let's get back to RSM real quick. It was a good tournament, and honestly, I mean, I'll show you the stroke gain statistics. But my buddy Adam Svensson, who is a great ball striker, learned how to putt and just went nuts with the putter. And I'll show you what he did with that. But of course, he ended up winning 19 under. And then you had guys more like where I was looking at the Brian Harmons. You had Colin Taryn. Just going off top of memory. We'll look at a stroke gain. We'll pull up some of the other guys that had a chance. Oh, of course, Sahith out of nowhere. I was not looking at him because of his driver getting wayward. You have to be very accurate here. But you had Andrew Putnam was kind of there, was one of the guys I was looking at. And then, of course, Seamus Power, who I actually put a live bet on Saturday to win the thing when I saw who was up there. And he had a good chance. And then I think he hit it in the bunker on 18. Wasn't able to get up and down, so he did not end up in second. I think he ended up in third. But anyways, it was a good tournament. I enjoyed it. I wish I would have bet Adam Svensson. I did not. I think he was probably somewhere around 40-1. And it's kind of hard to bet Adam Svensson, but the field was so weak that he was not on my radar because the guy, well, we'll talk about why he wasn't on my radar in a second. And then you got over to the right, of course, the DP World Tour kind of wrapped up, which I would think is kind of their FedEx Cup playoffs, which is the race to Dubai. And Rory took that honor with this crazy looking trophy here. I think last year was Morikawa who took it home. And Mr. John Rahm, for whatever reason, Rory is not in playing in Tigers tournament from what I saw. But John Rahm is going to be in, and he is in good form and actually won the DP World Tour event, which like an R would be like winning East Lake, the Tour Championship. So that's just a little update on that. Now, real quick on the RSM, and I'm not going to spend 2 minutes on this. I mentioned Adam Svensson, of course, was coming at Draftkings salary of $6,700. So if you had him in your lineups, that's awesome. That's a huge price savings. But this is the big guy right here. He gained 9.2 strokes with the putter against the field. I have no reasoning for this. He's never done under what information we have. He's never come close to gaining those many strokes. I think 3 or 4 strokes with the putter is the most he's ever gained. And like I said, if you go all the way back to the Sony where he had his best chance of winning in 2022, that was it. It was the putter that let him down on Sunday. He was missing 3-footers. That's what I'm typically used to with Adam. But you can see ball striking and, the putter did what it needed to do. And if you look at the guys that ended up, for whatever reason, Fantasy National had a hard time just pulling up the position. But if you look at Colin Taryn, gained 3.2. All the guys up here you can see gained a lot with the putter. And it is a bit of a putting contest. And that's pretty much what I wanted to call out. And that's what we were looking for was guys good on Bermuda greens, good on approach, and just hit fairways. Like we didn't need length. But the one thing that Adam Svensson does not do at all, has never showed any history of it, is putt well. So it's like if, Emiliano Grillo won this tournament or if Gus Glover won this tournament. I mean, we can go through all the guys that are great ball strikers, but typically horrific putters is Adam Svensson. Okay, enough about the RSM. The last thing I'll talk about is Adam Svensson's record and why I was not on him. And the Sony's not even showing up here, but this is just starting in end of July. His record, miscut the 3M Open, miscut at the Worldwide Tech, which was just recent, and then a bunch of like 50s, 40th or 39th, but 40th. I mean, the best showing he's had all year, and which would have been on, I believe, Poa Greens at the Fortinet. That's in California. Yeah, Poa Greens was his 12th place finish. And if you look over here under the putting statistics, he typically, as you see, loses strokes with a putter, but he did gain at the Houston Open, which was on Bermuda, so kind of tie correlation to that. There's something, but of course the ball striking was not good, but he tied it all together and gained 12 strokes, a little over 12 strokes against the field total ball striking. So anyway, like I said, there wasn't a lot out there. I, kept playing him a little bit in lineups. I kept playing him in Showdown. Was not betting Adam Svensson at all. So there you go. Okay, so let's change gears and let's talk about this Hero World Challenge. I'm going to give you all the information that I have. And the good news is that I had been following this tournament for a while. So I had a lot of this already kind of prepared, and that's hence why I'm going to go ahead and do it. But of course, they're heading over to vacation land, New Providence, Bahamas, Nassau. The course is called Albany. It's been hosted here since 2015, and your architect was Ernie Els, who opened it up back in 2010. Of course, you got Tiger Woods, who's got a place here. Henrik Stenson, who's a past winner, lives here, but of course, he's on the Live Tour. So, no worries about that. But really, I look at this as a very, to some degree, difficult tournament to figure out of the 19 now guys that are going to be playing in this, who's really there for a vacation, and who's actually there to try to win a tournament. And that's something you got to kind of keep in mind. Let's get down to kind of the statistics of this course. It is a par 72. It's 74-14, so 7,400 yards. So it's a big boy course, but there is a lot of opportunities out there for birdies and eagles. And then on the flip side, there's a lot of opportunities to get doubles, triple bogeys. There's a bit of water on this course. You're looking at Bermuda all over the place, fairways, rough, and greens. I've already talked about the player field. It is an invite only. And at one time, this player field was like, if I remember correctly, it was like 10 to 12 guys. And it's kind of expanded up to 20. And then, of course, Hideki is withdrawn. I think it's still dealing with the neck and back issues. There's no cut here. They're getting 4 days to go play golf in the Bahamas. And then if you want to understand, it is a bit of a birdie fest where you've got Victor, who won here. And it kind of kicked off his vacation swing, right? He won Mayakoba. He also won the Hero last year. Shot 22 under, is in the field. I already talked about Henrik Stenson. Now, there was no event because of COVID in 2021. And then Rahm won here back in 2019. And then Ricky Fowler won. Might be his last win, but it's not a FedEx Cup event, so I don't know how you kind of track that. I think Waste Management is actually his last FedEx Cup victory, which was, 4 or 5 years ago now. But he actually has the course record at 61. And then for some reason, I don't have 2017 here. I don't know why, but Hideki Matsuyama won it back in 2016 at 18 under. So you can see somewhere between 18 to 2200, depending if the wind blows or not. These guys will go out. Now, you do have some of the smallest greens that these guys will play. So if you want to think of courses like where they play the Charles Schwab, TPC Southwind, I also believe Pebble Beach, where they play the AT&T Pebble Beach, got some of the smallest greens. Not that I'm really using those as reference courses, but when I see that kind of small greens, just kind of brings that out. Ton of sand here, 52 sand bunkers. There's 3 water hazards on which brings into play on 5 holes. And then what I had from the stent meter from previous, they're going to play pretty fast around 12, but you got to remember whenever we get to these island swings, they can't let the greens get too fast because if the wind picks up, then the ball is going to be blowing. And then actually it's unplayable. They have to kind of call the day until the winds calm down. All right, course defense, just talked about the winds, tons of sand. There's these native grasses, which you can kind of see. This is a picture behind me here. Kind of like wastelands, a little bit like what you'd see at TPC Scottsdale for the waste management. You got some long par 3s, long par 4s, and I guess those are the toughest holes on the track as a few of the par 3s and par 4s. Also some long par 6s. We'll go through the scorecard. Some past notes. It's kind of a U.S. link style course. Best ball strikers typically in the top 3, which, if you look at Victor Hovland, Henrik Stenson, which I always said was kind of Victor Hovland before there was Victor Hovland. John Rahn, of course, amazing ball striker. Ricky Fowler at the time. And then Hideki Matsuyama, same thing. One of the best ball strikers. Not the greatest putter, but when it turns on, like when he won the Masters, Things can happen. Or like when Adam Svensson wins the RSM Classic. And scoring, let's see, multiple birdie streaks are there with the Eagles, but there's also the big blowups. I always discussed that. I think two of the toughest holes where those could happen is number 9 and 18. So both finishing holes for the nines. And then I just saw that the PGA Tour on kind of their information on the course released that on number 1 they added about 25, so a new tee, moved it back about 25 yards. And then also I think they made a combining tee for number 9 and number 17, which also added like another 25 yards. So funny enough, this is the number that I had. So I didn't, nothing's changed on the total yards. But of course, tees can move up and back depending on the wind conditions, whatever. But that was all the notes I had actually on the course for you. And then some that I had, I believe this was from 2021, is that, the final round, when you come down to it, a lot of things can change is the simplest way. So when you do showdown finale, right, it's all about positioning. Well, what we could see here, if you're doing Sunday showdown finales, is that, guys that are maybe, up there in the top 3 can move down to the middle tiers. And again, you got to remember, only got 19 guys because there's a lot of double bogeys and triple bogeys that can happen. But then, of course, there's a lot of areas for eagles. So long story short, volatility. So don't get too comfortable if you are typically the guy that does showdown finale and just picks all the highest level guys, no matter how good they are or not. That might not work out so well. But in this field, I mean, you got 19 of some of the best golfers in the world. So I think I'll be looking at a little bit of who's had really nice Sunday finishes and probably go from there for showdown finale. All right, so this gives you, I guess, I didn't even know this was what I had, but this gives you a little bit of an overview. You can see, of course, it runs along the, I don't know, that's what the Caribbean, I'm trying to remember now, Atlantic, Caribbean. But yeah, you got the water hazards I mentioned, palm trees, it's a resort course. And typically, as we just saw, I'm going to blank, maybe Mayakoba, that, when they play these resort courses, if there's not wind or some weather, they're typically going to torch it, hence the 22 under. And it's more, like I said, again, a little bit, I don't know, almost has got a little bit where they played the PGA Championship at Kiowa. That gives me a little bit of view of that, or a little bit like Concession, waste management, but, kind of that desert dunes with the fairway. And this could be one of those courses too where they actually, even though it said they had so many sand traps, sometimes when you have this kind of sand, they don't even classify sand traps. It's just kind of a way so you could soul your club. I don't remember if that's the way it works here or not, but pretty cool looking course. So somehow, I'm guessing you could play this track if you're ever in the Bahamas. I can't imagine it could survive on just private country club dues or not. And again, you just see on this par 3, some water, some more dunes. So it gives you kind of a flavor of what you're looking at from the golf course if you've never seen this tournament. And then real quick, this is the updated kind of breakdown of the holes. So I'm looking at it kind of for the first time in a bit. Just trying to see if there's any advantages for us from a showdown perspective of maybe teeing off the back, which I don't see that, which, on that consecutive birdie streak bonus, there is times where like 17, 18, 1 and 2 are some of the easiest holes on the course. And it makes sense that if you tee your guy off that way instead of off the first, that you could get that consecutive birdie bonus. It kind of looks like 5, 6, 7 might be the opportunity. And 13, 14, 15 has got like a stretch. So they're both kind of right in the middle. So nothing to worry about there. And it looks like, as usual, looks like, oh, I did not mention what is unique about this course for a par 72 is that, if I remember correctly, I'll get into this when we get into the stroke game model, but it's got 5 par 5s and 5 par 3s, and I believe 9 or 10 par 4s. Then let me do some math here. Actually, 8 par 4s. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. So that's kind of unique. There's not too many courses. I'm thinking, I know Kapalua, where they play the Tournament of Champions, is a par 73. I believe they have 5 par 5s, which just gives you a ton of more opportunities to make birdies or eagles. Let me just count these. I want to verify. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So kind of unique. And of course, I did put that in my custom stat model. Now, just so you guys know, I built all this information, 4 or 5 days ago, and then didn't have time to present it. So I thought, I'll do it today and get it out early-ish. Also, it let me kind of look at some more information before I did the show. But why I'm sitting here racking my brain on some of these things is because it's been a little bit since I've looked at this information. And then kind of to qualify that, funny enough, I haven't seen from the PGA Tour yet most recent scorecard, but this is from 2021, so pretty much last year. And, check the yardage and everything that I'm getting, it's still the same. Now, could it play 7,7450? That might be the actual yardage when it's all baked out. But long story short, it isn't going to change anything. And like I said, I already mentioned the 5 par 5s, the 5 par 3s, and only 8 par 4s. All right, so as always, I did create a custom stat model, ran some of this stuff, and with that information that I just provided to you, with those small greens, what has kind of showed up. And funny enough, we don't have stroke gain data here. Again, this is one of those tournaments. It's not a FedEx Cup event. And it's almost, I kind of look at it as kind of like a slap and tickle for some of the elite golfers. That's how I've always viewed it. But approach, ball striking is, the top. Driving distance with fairways gained. Honestly, I think I just put off the tee because that's exactly what that is. If off the tee combines distance with fairways, putting does show up here. Funny enough, Victor has putted very well here when he's played. And then there's those, as I mentioned, 5 par 3s, 5 par 5s. Also, I put in the distance. So a lot of these par 3s are pretty long. There's like 225, 200. So I'm kind of looking to, again, that brings in the ball striking into play. Hence, again, Hideki won, Victor Hovland won. And also, you've got some of these par 5s that are longer. So I'm going to look at stroke gain on 600 plus. And then there's a little bit of short game, sand saves, and birdies. So what I've kind of done through what I've noticed through the years is I've just keep kind of focusing and slimming down the model because it seems like that gives you better results. When you put in, I don't know, somewhere around 10 different stroke gain categories, it kind of waters down everything. So, like I said, it's just kind of a side note of what I've seen over the years of doing this. All right, with that said, looking at that custom stat model, the first thing as always, I look at recent form. And if you want to see how I weighted it, just take a look up here. Approach is at 20%, ball striking at 15. There's that off the tee. So almost half the model is weighted, actually over half the model is weighted on just purely ball striking, off the tee approach, and then really kind of double dip in there. And then the putter at 10% around the green. There's those par 5s I wanted to look at. I put them at 10% because it is crucial. Guys that score very well on those are probably going to end up doing very well in the tournament. Birdies, eagles, and then those par 3s a little longer. So that was the model that I ran. I wanted to see just recent form, no filters. That means I'm not looking at the type of green. I'm not looking at the distance or the par. I'm purely just wanting to see the last tournaments that we have. What have these guys done? And funny enough, right off the bat, which no shocker, right? Tony Finau, who's won 3 different tournaments within the last couple months it's been now. He pops up number 1. The putter has been working for him. Hence, that was a big kind of flip. I think if I remember correctly, he's kind of changed his posture a little bit and where his hands are, and all that doesn't matter. What's going on with Tony is that he's got confidence in his putter. And if you play golf, you understand how huge that is. If you go out one day and you start just rolling them in your mind, the hole gets bigger and all you think is you're going to do is make putts. And then if you just keep missing, lipping, the putter can start to go sideways. All right. Next guy up was Tom Kim. You got Sungjae Im, you got Xander. And a lot of these guys we haven't seen in a while. Some of the President's Cup, we got to see these guys. Scotty Scheffler has played recently. Rahm's been playing on Europe. And I do have some of the European results because I think that's crucial because a lot of these guys have been playing over there. Not crucial, but just, I guess, information so you know how they've been doing. You got JT, who I don't think has been playing at all. Shane Lowry's been playing a bit in Europe. Colin Morikawa, I think he's played a little. He typically does, right? He won the race to Dubai last year, but didn't see his name come up in anything I was looking at. Yeah, Cameron Young, which that's a pretty nice price tag, I feel like, for Cameron Young. I think he is definitely someone that I've been kind of riding and looking for to, I feel like the putter has kind of started to fail him a little bit, but great ball striker who's got crazy distance. Matty Fitzpatrick's been playing on Europe. We're going to talk about Tommy Fleetwood. I already mentioned Hideki's out of this. Billy Horschel, Victor Hovland, your past champion. Sam Burns, who I don't know what's going on. I've kind of mentioned this in the last couple shows I've done. His game has kind of fallen apart, except for the putting. You got Jordan Spieth's been a while. Kevin Kisner, no thank you. I'm kind of shocked he's playing in this. And then, of course, Tiger Woods, which, we haven't seen since I'm so confused now, but I think the last championship, he withdrew from the PGA, and I think he finished the Open. It's all been foreign to me now. But anyways, I'll probably be passing on Mr. Tiger Woods, even though it is his tournament. Who knows? Maybe he's found some crazy form and we don't know, but he's never won his own event here. So, all right. So on the recent form front, because a lot of these guys have been over in Europe, and this is not all the tournaments, but I pulled up the 3 tournaments that I think had the best fields represented what we're seeing. I already mentioned the DP World Tour Championship, which John Rahm just won. He shot 20 under. So, of course, coming in great form. Rory ended up winning the race to Dubai. He had, Fleetwood. So this is the most recent tournament. Would it be a couple weeks now? So Fitzy, Fleetwood, Rory, Terrell Hatton is not in this event, and John Rahm, and crazy enough, Alex Noren, who has been showing good form. So the next tournament we see him at, we might want to take a longer look at. And then kind of a weaker field, but I wanted to bring this up because Tommy Fleetwood won this Nedbank Golf Challenge. This, I think, would have been, I don't know, about a few weeks ago, almost a month ago now. He shot 11 under. Just wanted you to note that he has a recent win. Now, again, Seabez was there. I didn't notice any real big names. Brandon Grace. Funny enough, Sergio Garcia has been playing in a ton of European Tour events. So right now, I guess they're okay with the live golf kind of thing. And then one that's a little more relevant, the PGA Championship, which I believe was in September. You had Shane Lowry win that, which is a huge event for the European Tour. You had Rory come in second. Rahm tied for second. You got the Gooch who's on the live. You got Victor Hovland, who is in this field. Reed, Billy Horschel, who's in the field, and Molinari, funny enough. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. Not that you couldn't go find this, but probably a little easier that I just shared. So some good showings from Fleetwood and, of course, Rory and Rahm. All right, so then moving to now kind of getting the specifics. Again, I mentioned those small greens. Again, Hovland, which his irons have not been as this kind of shows. Burns, I mean, some of the guys that we always thought of having the best irons. Now, Morikawa, funny enough, which I'm a little shocked by this, is up here on approach. But, the guy that I'm interested in on multiple fronts is this Tom Kim. And I didn't go into a deep dive on who I'm betting, but the first guy that I punched a ticket for 35-1 is Tom Kim. And also I like his odds. And you're going to look when you see the odds, they're pretty rough from a betting perspective because, again, it's a really small field. So that I understand. And it's also, some of the best players we have on the PGA Tour. So, but for 35-1 and from a DraftKings play, I like Tom Kim probably the best out of all these guys. The other guy that I'm going to bet, Cameron Young, and I'm guessing, I don't remember what his odds. I think it was 35-1 too. That's more of a FIFO bet, fear of missing out kind of thing. The rest, that's it. From my betting side, that's all the betting I'm doing on this. But anyways, from an approach, I think it is crucial. And you can see now, again, some of these guys, it's been a while. Some of these guys have been playing in Europe. So you got to take all that into factor. But it does kind of tell a story. I mean, Kevin Kisner's been trash, except for what, the WGC Dell Golf Match Play. That's the last time I've seen Kevin Kisner play decent golf. But yeah, I think it kind of does bring out the guys that you probably want to focus on. Of course, Tony Finau, Xander, Shane Lowry. Again, Hideki's out. But yeah, you can kind of see the top. And what I did here is I just showed you the field. This is the complete field of 20 guys, so you can see where they rank. And then if you want to know who's been the best ball striker over, again, the past 24 rounds, I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm looking at the past 6 tournaments or 24 rounds, however you want to flip it. And again, against my model, this is looking purely at ball striking. Again, for some odd reason, if you're watching this and you're doing any DFS or betting and don't know what that is, that's combining the approach shot with off the tee. But typically what it does is it shows the guys who are really good from kind of 200 plus with the long irons and also the hybrids. It just, for whatever reason, I've always noticed that when you just do the ball striking, that kind of really pulls that out. And two of the guys that I'm most interested in and what lineups I do build for the Hero, these two guys will be in probably every lineup, and that's Tony and Tom Kim. You got Scheffler, Morikawa, Sungjae M, Xander, Lowry, JT, Hideki, Cameron Young, Fleetwood, Rahm, Homa, Horschel, Fitzpatrick, Hovland, Woods, Burns, Spieth, and Kisner. Again, these guys kind of fall into the back. As always, though, this is historical data, and as we always see, at any time, these guys can flip their game, or maybe they've been practicing. We haven't seen these guys, some of these guys for a while. So, all right. And then if you're curious, the other thing is the putting does show up here. If you want to know who's been putting the best on Bermuda now, you got to watch out for some of this because now Tommy Fleetwood, this could be pulling into Florida swing. Where he just had really good, at the Honda or at Arnie's track at Bay Hill. What else? I mean, Finau, I feel a little better about. Kisner, I mean, yeah, that's usually the one thing he can do well, but I don't even think he's been putting that well. Tiger Woods, just throw away that data. That could be literally from 2018. So don't worry about that. But the rest of the guys you can see, funny enough, Spieth is at the bottom. Morikawa has been struggling. Even Scheffler, my buddy Cam Young there. That's been the one area that, like I mentioned, that's been a little bit of struggle. Shane Lowry is kind of interesting. If you guys remember, he actually had a chance to win at Harbortown for the RSM and Heritage, and then also he had a chance to win the Honda, which both of those are on Bermuda. So who knows? Figure that one out. So again, take it with a grain of salt, but I do feel like Bermuda Burns. I mean, he has kept the putter up. Looks like a pretty decent list. But if you're curious, if you're out of these 20 guys, want to build a lineup in DFS that's, hey, I'm going to take the best putters, see how that works out. Just remember, I would scratch Tiger Woods and Matt's, but you'd be looking at like a Fleetwood, Burns, Finau, Kisner, Billy Ho, maybe M. But there's my Tom Kim again. All right, so I did run a comparable course, and I always tell you guys how I kind of value this. On this one, I give it a 5. I don't put a lot of weight in the comparable course. I mean, I did pull in Kapalua. I think there's, a lot of these are all Bermuda. They all demand good ball strikers, all of these. So you got, I got the AT&T Oaks for TPC, AT&T Oaks for Valero. You got Bay Hill. You got CC of Jackson, Kapalua, of course, Quail Hollow, and then Copperhead, Innisbrook. All tough tracks, most of them. I mean, I wouldn't put maybe Kapalua in there, but demands good ball striking. They're all Bermuda. They're all longer. So they're all great comparables, but I don't know. Again, this tournament is so different. Again, it is more of a vacation. I want to emphasize that. That's how I see it. And I think, and so to figure out which of these guys, because there's no FedEx Cup points involved. So you're not here for that. You're here for vacation. You're here to hang with Tiger. And you're here for, if you win, get some cash. So, what's your motivator, right? So I think, all these guys are super uber competitive. Don't take me the wrong way. But there's some of these guys that, again, like I said, they might be here to party. Funny enough, my kind of lean going into this was Justin Thomas, because of his relationship with Tiger and how much he would love to win this event. So, you got to kind of almost think a little outside the box, outside of the stroke gain, kind of, what we typically talk about here, and kind of think more bigger picture. But, Max Homa, a lot of these guys, of course, all look up, but we all know how excited he was when he won Genesis, which I kind of, is Tiger's sponsored tournament. This is actually literally Tiger's hosted tournament. So anyways, long story short, you got to kind of put that in. So, if you want to see the guys that have done well on these courses that I think are pretty comparable, there you go. Funny enough, JT came up one, Ron Woods, but again, that data is so old. Victor Hovland, which that makes sense, right? Scotty, Morikawa, whatever. You can see the list. My Tom Kim now, that's another thing. Cameron Young and Tom Kim have, they either have not played any of these courses or maybe played one tournament. So also, again, data, you got to kind of watch on how that works out. All right. With that said, I'm not going into Fantasy National and diving into these guys deep for you. I've already done the analysis. If you want to know, I'm going to give you my top 5 plays from a DFS perspective. And of course, I mentioned already one I'm betting, and Cam Young is not in this list. But there's only 20 guys. I'm not going to go through a bunch of deep dive analysis with you guys. I don't think it makes sense. And again, these are the guys that I'm going to lean to when I do my builds. So here you go. Right off the bat, Jon Rahm. I think he's been playing the best golf recently. So he had a kind of a shady, not a great 2022, right? He was struggling with the putter, around the green, and just wasn't there. But his game seems like it is at full go. And of course, I think he just had another kid or another baby. So maybe there was a little bit of that too. New dad, so he's got 2 kids now, I believe, if I'm correct. I could be totally wrong on that, but neither here or there. I like his game. Of course, I just showed you he just won recently abroad, and then he also won another European event, but it was a really weak field, and that was in Spain, and I could not, the Espinosa, whatever the heck it was. Again, if you want to know, so he's won quite a bit over on the European side, and even when we've seen here in PGA, the little bit we have over the fall swing, he's been playing good golf. So I'm going to lean on him. And also, by the way, each of these guys are in, so I think Rahm is in the 11,000 or 10,000 bracket. So I took one guy from each money bracket, just so you know, from a DFS perspective. Tony Finau was the next guy that was up, from the cost. Of course, playing amazing golf. He's been putting excellent. Now, I think I told you guys, right, when he played at Mayakoba, and this is a bit of tongue in cheek, but If his family's there, well, there's not even no cut, so he's got to play all 4 days anyway. So where I was going with that is I have noticed at times that Tony, it just feels like when he's on these vacation swings with his full family, he's not super bummed if he doesn't have to play Saturday, Sunday. Now, again, I'm not saying that's the case. It's a little bit of tongue in cheek, but I guess I just have seen it a couple times. But Tony Finau will be my next play. Of course, Victor Hovland. Now, this one you can make an argument for, but during the bracket when I looked through it, the money, the cost for Victor Hovland. Of course, he's a past winner here. The guy wins whenever, whatever reason, when he's not on, the lower 48 soil. Whenever he's on these vacation areas, that's where he's got his wins on the PGA Tour. With that, so I think did he win Puerto Rico too? I know that Finau did, but I know he won Mayakoba, the Hero, and I feel like there was another one that I might be forgetting. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna go with Victor. Maybe he spiced it, but his game a little bit like Sam Burns. The ball striking hasn't been what it used to be, but the putter has shown some life here and there. So, anyways, I like Victor. Funny enough, Sunjay M, he's been playing really good golf. Had a good President's Cup. For the pricing bracket, I think he was like 7,800. I'm all over here. And then Tom Kim in the 6,000 range. I also like Max Homa. I'll state that. So that if you wanted to know 6 guys or Cameron Young. Actually, funny enough, there's a few guys in the lower that I'm definitely going to put together. But this is going to be my core 5. And again, there's 19 guys to pick from. So, and they're not going to add another guy into this. Hideki's out, and that's that. So that would be the guys, but it's going to be kind of difficult, right? I mean, you've only got 19 guys, so to get unique, to build a unique lineup, almost like the Millie Maker for fantasy for football, it's going to be pretty difficult. But these are the guys that I'm interested in from a DFS and who I'll be playing. And that's it. I told you guys this show was going to be quick. I wanted to get right to the point, and you've got a little more information, especially if you've never watched this tournament. But if you do me the honor, click that like button. Again, share it with somebody else if there's somebody else that has any interest to play in DFS golf, hopefully in the new season. And if you are watching this somehow for the first time, and I'd be completely shocked. But if you're not a subscriber, hey, subscribe. I do a lot of content, mainly focus on golf. Next year, I've had quite a few requests. I do share a little bit that I play quite a bit of also fantasy football. And I'm starting to evaluate more tools and how I would approach it. So I actually might add football to the mix. Of course, that'd be next fall. But some people have asked me that. So yeah, that might be in the works. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter. And with that said, I will not talk to you guys again until after Christmas. So have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Have all the success at the Hero. And I will talk to you guys in 2023. Amazing enough. So, hey, enjoy. Have a great holiday. And talk to you guys next year.